I think you've provided an excellent example of deception. I've read your book, I've seen the movie, and there's so many mistakes, errors of omission and commission, that I'm thinking your presentation is a deception effort intentionally.
You wouldn't be the first one to
No,
say as much.
I didn't say I was. The book's been out for several years,
Yeah, it's
so
now
it's
5 years
not
now.
new. I'm particularly concerned, though, about how you try to make it sound as if Roswell somehow was due to the Aztec case. I mean, the stories about Roswell. And there's no connection there. You failed to mention all the key witnesses. You don't have it right. And as a matter of fact, the Aztec case, if you want a good book, the Aztec incident by Scott and Suzanne Ramsey, they did a hell of a lot of research and came up, forget about Frank Scully, you know. So I'm trying to figure out, who are you working for? And deceiving people seems to be something that you do well. I'll give you credit for it. Yeah. But I resent people thinking that the real stuff is really deception when it's just, you know, let's deal with facts and data. And so I'm disappointed. And I did read the book, and I did watch the movie. And I did know Bill Moore, and I did, you know, all the rest of it, Jamie Chanderay and all the rest of that. And I think you focused on the wrong part of the story when it comes to Roswell, MJ-12. I don't deny that there's plenty of deception in the world. The debunkers of the world put out an enormous amount of deception. There's some of the best examples that I know. And I don't know who's funding them. That's a different question, you know. But I admire the way you put the whole thing together, and here you are and at this wonderful conference. You've got the stage. But I don't think you've solved any of the problems that you raised, like Benowitz and all the rest of that. So I just want to say that, you know, it was effective propaganda. When I'm looking for facts, I don't find it in the book or the movie. So thank you.
Thank you. I would, I'd respond to Dr. Friedman. There are quite a few facts in the book. I mean, I think what I'm trying to do is really just place a mirror, you know, to the whole field, to the UFO community, to the incredibly rich and sort of a lively community that we're all part of, and just encourage people to just stop and think, you know, a little bit, step outside on the other side of the mirror and try and see a little bit what might sometimes be going on. I'm certainly not trying to suggest that the entire history of the UFO field has been a fraud. What I'm saying is that certain key elements have been tweaked and placed in the right positions at certain times to then encourage certain beliefs, discourage certain other ideas, and to just sort of gently channel the way in which the UFO story has evolved. And there are extreme cases. The Paul Benowitz case is very extreme. That's perhaps the most extreme. And I don't think, whatever anyone says, I think, you know, Bill Moore, at the time very celebrated researcher, he came out in 1989 to say, look, I've been leading you all down the garden path with a lot of the material we've been presenting about Paul Benowitz and others. And there are others at the time who were being played by the AFOSI, Air Force Officer Special Investigations. You know, he came out quite blatantly in a situation like this to make this clear, and everybody really just ignored this fact and chose to continue soaking up the information that was being presented to them without really stopping to think a little bit about the bigger picture. So, you know, even if I'm wrong, you know, and I'm sure I'm wrong about some things, we all are. I follow the great John Keel's. He had a great calling card that said, you know, not an expert on anything, and you know, I would follow that example. But I just think it's very important to sometimes stop and think, you know, what's actually going on, you know, why think if a story seems improbable or absurd, say the Serpo story, for example, stop to think, well, you know, who might be behind this? Why might it be out there? What impact is it having on our wider community? And I think, you know, these are all questions that we should be asking at all times. But I appreciate your comments, Stanton Friedman. Personally speaking, I stand by all the information in the book, but no, that's fine. Okay.